right, yeah. Welcome back to Game of Thrones, noobs. We are experts of all things Game of Thrones. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know anything. I'm joined by Kit. How you doing today?
Hello, hello. Good to be here once again.
And then we've got JoJo.
One day.
We've got
Yeah!
JoJo.
Hello. JoJo the Mountain Beard.
JoJo the Mountain Beard, aka my thing is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but we're not watching that today. We are watching episode 8 of Game of Thrones. It's called The Pointy End. Gee, I wonder what that's a reference to. What'd you guys think of this episode?
I wasn't feeling it.
I think it was good, but not the most exciting of the...
It's kind of like a mashup, like a mashed potatoes episode. It's like one of those transitionary episodes, I guess, kind of like episode maybe 3, I can't remember, where stuff's happening, but it's stuff that's like setting up next episode's stuff or whatever.
I think the problem was me. I think the problem was me this time, at least for my perception of the episode, because I think I went into the episode with a bad attitude this week. And I think I set myself up for failure.
Sansa is actually featured a lot in this episode.
I did like all of Sansa's parts. I did. And I liked all of Tyrion's parts. And beyond that, I don't know.
Oh, yes.
Some days you're just not feeling it.
Let me talk about what this podcast is about. First of all, we're gonna spoil episode 8. We're gonna go through each and every scene. I'm the Game of Thrones noob. I've never seen Game of Thrones, although at this point I have watched the entire first season like multiple times. So yeah, we're just having fun talking about Game of Thrones. That's pretty much it.
I'm not having any fun.
Well, thanks a lot, Ned.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that even though I've seen the series multiple times, I'll go back and recount for this podcast, and then I'll realize, like, oh man, I still got that wrong, which I think works for our viewers or the listener or whatever, because then they can go back and be like, oh no, he was wrong. So
my favorite part, I haven't mentioned this, but of our podcast so far, is if I'm recounting something or maybe hinting at something, and I'm wrong, but Dave thinks I'm spoiling something, but I'm just incorrect.
I love calling you guys out on spoilers, even if they're probably not. Sometimes I will be like dead, like I'm 100% right on this. I don't know what they're talking about. And then I'll go back and watch the scene and I'll be like, I don't know how I interpreted it any other way. Like that happens a lot. I'm like, I don't know what I was smoking when I do know what I was smoking.
You do know what you were smoking?
We're going into the Realm Report. All right, this episode first aired on June 5th, 2011. And we actually have a bunch of new movies that came out. X-Men First Class, June 3rd.
Boo. I'm sorry.
Oh, man. I liked half of that movie. Super 8.
Same.
It was okay. I remember seeing it. It was kind of like it's like a Stranger Things precursor. Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds. Everyone loved that movie. Mr. Popper's Penguins, June 17th.
Oh.
Jim Carrey. I've never heard of this. Bad Teacher, starring Cameron Diaz.
I remember the commercials for that one.
Sounds pretty bad. And then Cars 2.
Cars 2, let's go!
All right, that was the Realm Report. A lot of cool movies that you can all not go see. I don't care. All right, Joffrey, Cersei have railroaded Ned and have stolen the king's throne. So basically they've ignored Robb's dying wish and hate Ned. Also, Robb died. King Robb is dead. Got gored by a boar while he was drunk hunting. I think it's implied that the Lannisters got him drunk on purpose.
This is the first significant death of a main character in this franchise.
Jon Snow did not get the ranger position he wanted at the Night Watch. He got steward like a loser. No, I'm just kidding. The same position as Sam.
Steward?
An assassination attempt was made on Daenerys by a wine salesman, but it was horrible and they stopped it. And now Khal Drogo is fired up to sail to King's Landing and fight for the throne. And then also Tywin has given Jaime like a huge army of 30,000 people to demolish the Eyrie, to take back Tyrion. And yeah, that's pretty much the recap. Here we go with the walkthrough. Chapter 1, we start out with some action. Arya is training with Syrio in the castle, but outside I laughed when I saw the scene. I hate to say it, but Lannister guards are raiding the village and many innocent people are dying. But it plays out like a Monty Python and the Holy Grail scene, like where it's just like people going about their day, and then out of nowhere, a bunch of soldiers run in yelling and stab them all. It really does feel like it's played for comedy.
Take 8. Action!
Defeat at the castle seems to have utterly disheartened King Arthur. Now this is what they did.
For a second, because it's just people like talk like, yeah, move that over there. Yeah, we're gonna move this into the room, and then like several guards just with their spears and stab them. Septa is walking down a hall with Sansa, and she's just like, where the hell is Arya? Like, we're gonna leave soon. Like, why is she not here? And as they talk, they hear like fighting happening outside. Septa tells Sansa to go lock herself in her room. What's she gonna? Why would she stay behind? Is she gonna like fight these guys? Like, anyway. And she's like, please. She's like, by the way, if you know your dark phoenix powers, now would be the time to use them, please. And then, but no, she doesn't know her dark phoenix powers yet. Sansa leaves. Septa faces the guards. She walks towards, and she sees the blood on their swords. And that's that scene. And the next scene, Arya and Syrio are still training in a secluded room. I don't know where they are. Syria gives Arya a lesson about how to truly see while fighting. He's like, you're watching me, but you're not seeing. It reminds me of that scene in The Last Samurai where the samurai tells Tom Cruise, he's like, too many mind.
Please forgive. Too many mind.
Too many mind?
Hi. Mind the sword. Mind the people what? Mind the enemy. Too many mind. No mind.
I don't know if you remember that.
Too many mind.
And then, so that's basically what he's saying to her. He's like, Arya, too many mind. And then some Lannister guards come in, and they're there for Arya. He fights them off with his like wooden training sword, tells Arya to run to her father. He puts on a pretty good show. He easily knocks out like all of them, except for like the boss, who just stands and watches. Arya also doesn't run. She also stands and watches. Syria fights the boss guy. This guy has like more armor than the other guys, and he slices Syrio's wooden sword in half. Arya finally leaves at this point. And then Syria continues to face the guy, but it looks like the other guys that he knocked out are also getting up. And I'm assuming he dies. Everywhere Arya runs, she can hear like swords clanging and men screaming. It's not good. And then also Sansa tries to, I don't know where she is in the castle. She tries to leave her room, I think. And the Hound stops her. And she's like, I'll tell my father. I'll tell the queen. And then he's like, who do you think sent me? And he smiles at her all like creepy. Like, where is she going? Is she going back to her room at this point?
Yes, she's going back to her room.
Arya runs down to the stables. She sees like the aftermath of the Monty Python and the Holy Grail scene. There's a bunch of dead people. It looks like a tornado hit the place. She looks for her sword in a chest, her sword needle, and then some like large kid walks up behind her. He's there to take her to the queen, and he like moves in to grab her, and she just immediately stabs him in the goddamn stomach with the pointy end of needle, and then runs away. She straight up like murders him. Sticks him with the pointy end, just like the name of the episode.
First kill.
Yeah, age 2 or however old she is.
2, yeah, that's how old she is.
And now we are in an now we're in an oubliette. I'm excited I got to use that word. I don't even care if it is that or not. But yeah, Ned is shackled in a pitch black cell. He's a prisoner now. Uncle Fester comes in and gives him some water, and he promises it's not poisoned. He like drinks some himself. Ned asks about his daughters. Fester says Arya has escaped. Sansa is still engaged to Joffrey, and all of Ned's men are dead. Uncle Fester is like, why the hell did you tell Cersei you know about Joffrey's birth? And Ned says, the madness of mercy. And then Uncle Fester is like, well, your mercy killed Robb, by the way. And then he's like, also, you probably know you're probably gonna die, right? Ned's like, oh, good thing we have Tyrion though. And then Uncle Fester's like, ooh, he got away, actually.
Yeah.
You don't have Tyrion anymore. Ned is like, well, just kill me right now. And then Fester's like, not today.
I have a couple of things. Arya's teacher, he calls himself the best sword of Bravos. And I think I missed that he was from Bravos, or if I didn't miss it, I promptly forgot about it. That's the land across the Great Sea, right?
I'm looking at a map. You're correct. It's across does the sea have a name? But it's on the same side as like Pentos. This is the last we see Syrio, I'm guessing. I don't know. But what'd you guys think of his, like, he went out in a pretty spectacular fashion. Like, he really is a good sword fighter. He's not just full of shit.
Did a good job.
I really like how he ended with the scene and everything. I think there was something that was said by the main guard or the Kingsguard guy. You know, he just tells him to shut up, dancing master. I think that is something that Kit picked up on one of the previous episodes. She was like, is dancing, as like the term dancing master, you know, is it because they want to hide something or they want to mask that Arya is learning lessons? I think in the society of Westeros, teaching women to and girls to sword fight is not uncommon, and it's a little different than it would be in our reality. I mean, it's not like it's still kind of frowned upon in some way, but at the same time, everybody knows that he's a dancing master, and from somebody from Bravos, that means sword fighting.
I personally don't like it when swords have names, like Sting and Lord of the... I'm like, what? Just a sword. I'm like, who cares? But I don't know. That's just a little, you know.
I don't know. It does make it feel like it has a certain history, or like it could have its own lineage if it has a name. But I don't know. I don't really care as much for the swords.
I fucking hate it. No, I'm just kidding. I don't hate it. It's just like I don't know. It's just it feels a little too cutesy. It's like when people name their cars. I'm like, please don't do that. I don't know. But also have fun if you do. I don't care. I'll just not like you. All right, chapter 2. Back at the White Wall, Sam and Jon are, I guess they're just now returning from their little O thing, it seems like. The time jumps in this show some of them don't line up sometimes, I will say that. But anyways, they're just returning from their oath, even though it feels like probably weeks have passed since the last episode. They are dragging behind them 2 dead bodies of night watchmen, and the severed hand that Jon's wolf found, that I thought might have been Benjen's. It wasn't Benjen's hand. It was one of these guys' hands. One of the dead bodies looks exactly like Uncle Fester, weirdly enough, and the other one looks like heroin addict Kurt Cobain, who I think he just was a heroin addict, right? So he just looked like Kurt Cobain. A bunch of Night Watchmen and Commander Mormont gather around to look at these bodies, identify them by name. Sam, for some reason, is like, smell. There is none. And also no rot. Have you guys ever been in anywhere and been like, this place doesn't smell? Like, I just felt like it was a weird, I don't know.
Not in West Texas.
It is a good point, though. They've been dead a long time. There's no rotting, and they don't smell.
But isn't it freezing cold there? They're just frozen.
That's true. They could just be frozen. Sam, the dumbass. And then they've been dead. So they've been dead a long time. They should be smelly and rotting. But yeah, they're frozen. Anyway, okay, they bring the bodies inside, and Commander Mormont goes to his quarters because he needs to check his email. Mormont is now inside. Commander Mormont, he asked Jon for some ale. Jon is already diving right into his steward duties. Asks Jon for some ale, and he's also like, pour some for yourself too. And then he's just been informed that the king is dead. That's what his email says. And then Jon asks about Ned, and Mormont's like, he's been charged with treason. He conspired to overthrow the throne, probably dead too, or a prisoner. Jon gets up and leaves, and Mormont is like, don't do anything stupid. Don't forget about your oath. You leave, you die. Jon is like, my sisters are there too. And then Mormont he's just like, I'm sure they'll be treated gently. Horrible. Yeah. Of course they will be, right? Back in King's Landing, King Sansa is talking to the Queen in Rob's former, like the cafeteria. It's where Rob used to eat lunch, I think, right? Okay, she's talking to the Queen, and then also Maester Pyce, Littlefinger, and Uncle Fester are there. Cersei is telling her that Ned turned out to be a traitor, and Sansa's like, there's no way that's true. He wouldn't do that. And then Cersei is like, you're the daughter of a traitor, and you can no longer marry Joffrey. Sorry. And Maester Pyce agree. Maester Pyce is just fully on Cersei's side.
Oh yeah, I'm not a fan either.
Littlefinger tries to tell Cersei that Sansa is innocent and she should be given a chance to prove her loyalty. Cersei wants Sansa to write to Cat and Robb to come to King's Landing and swear their fealty to Joffrey. And then Sansa asks to see Ned, and Cersei is like, why would you want to speak to a traitor? And she's just like, I just want to know what will happen to him. I'm not a fan of Sansa's like acting. It's like anyway. Okay, now we're in Winterfell and it's 6 months later. No, I don't know. But because Robb is reading the note that Sansa just wrote, and we're in Winterfell, so it must have taken how long do we think the ravens take to get to from place to, it's got to be like a week, right, or something.
I asked the same. I wrote the same question down. Like, how long? I don't know.
So anyway, Robb has the note. Lemon and Theon are there too. They're in the hall. They're also like eating lunch or something. I don't know. Lemon is like, Sansa wrote this, but those are the Queen's words. So they used AI. Write it in Sansa's handwriting, but in the style of the Queen. And Robb is like, he wants me to go there. Oh, I'll go there. Oh, I'll go there. And he wants to like bring an army. He basically wants to like go to war, is what he's saying. Theon is like, dude, fuck yeah, dude. And then he like eats a banana. No, I'm just kidding. Theon is he's like the yes man of the episode. He doesn't like say much, but he's always like there, just like smiling and nodding in a lot of scenes. Like for Robb, he's like Robb's like hype man, I feel like. All right, now we're in the Eyrie, which I've been spelling wrong this whole time. There's a Y in it. Kat runs up to Lady Erin with a note. She's like, were you going to tell me about this ever? And it's a note about Ned being a traitor and Robb wanting to go to war. Lady Erin is like, sorry, can't help you with that. And the kid is also there, and he's just hungry. He keeps grabbing at her chest. And she's like, stop it. And then that's that. There's a lot more. It's a longer scene, but that's the gist of that scene. I just wanted to get out of here. Okay. And then the next scene, we're with Tyrion and Bronn, and they're out hiking on foot down a trail in a forest somewhere. Bronn is just like, what if I just like took all your food and left you here? Like, what would you do? And Tyrion is like, well, probably die, but I can make you super rich and filled with women. Just stick with me. And Bronn is like, cool.
Tyrion is back! This is the first time we've seen Tyrion since he escaped. He's back and better than ever.
That's true. Was he not in the last episode? I forgot. Who would you guys say is the main character of the show? Even if there's an ensemble cast, you still get like a feeling of a main character. Do you guys have a feeling for who the main character is?
Like as of right now?
Yeah.
I would begrudgingly say it's Jon Snow.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really? I feel like they've given Ned a lot of importance. I would say Ned.
I would say Ned, too. I feel like the main story revolves around Ned, the Ned stuff, mostly.
Yeah, to that point, I think that Jon, in spite of him being young, feels like we can grow with him and discover things with him, because he's relatively naive and he's just learning things, where Ned, he's seasoned in certain things and he feels like he's set in his ways. So as an audience member, I feel like I can kind of grow more with Jon and just follow along with Ned's path. I do like the scene in Winterfell with Robb and Theon and Maester Luwin, because I think it shows Robb kind of stepping up. And even Maester Luwin and Theon are like, oh yeah, it's time to take action. Like you're right about Theon being the hype man. But I like that. I appreciate this scene, because he's not gonna just take it. He's not gonna do what the king says. He's like, his father is in danger. He's gonna raise an army. When it comes to Michelle Fairley, who's Catelyn Stark, and she comes in and she's talking to her sister, there's just this one breath of like a single word or like a line that she has. She says a courtesy, but it's the breath that she uses and the execution of it as a performer, as an actor, man, that is like to me, oh, I want to deliver a line like that, because it's a little bit, it has a little bit of like a desperation, but then this commanding nature that we haven't seen in Catelyn in any part of the story yet. But she's got a fire there, and we hope to see it used.
Basically, this chapter, everyone has been notified about Ned's situation, and then also no one is buying that Sansa wrote that note, which is kind of funny. Everyone's like, dude, it's totally like Cersei just telling her to write. Maybe Cersei's not that smart.
Does Tyrion tell Bronn that he will pay him?
If someone offers you a lot of money to kill me or something, just remember I can pay you more, or something like that. All right, chapter 3.
Smart.
We're still with Tyrion and Bronn. They have stopped to rest. Tyrion's taking a nap. Bronn wakes Tyrion up, and they're being surrounded by a bunch of cavemen. Shagga, son of Dolph Lundgren, is their leader.
Dolph Lundgren.
And he has like he has a leather helmet with like sheep horns coming out of it, which is it's pretty cool. And he's basically like, how would you like to die? He's basically like, you're gonna die. How do you want to die? We're gonna kill you, just so you know. Tyrion talks them out of it very expertly. I kind of gloss over it here, but it's a good scene. He's like, offers some goat. Would you like some goat? Anyway, he makes Shagga laugh, and at first Shagga is like, yeah, okay, just kill Bronn and take Tyrion. We'll make him dance for the children or something. But Tyrion is like, basically, I'm rich. I can make you rich. And then he also like makes fun of their armor and weapons. He's like, these are the best you could steal. Shagga like slashes Tyrion in the face. And he's like, you can't buy me, basically. And Tyrion hands him his ring. He's like, this is worth more than all your clothes and everything I see right now. He gives it to him, and then he basically also promises to give him the Vale of Arryn too. He's like, I'll give you an army and we can run this place down. All the people here want me dead anyway. Like, we need to put the kibosh on the Vale of Arryn. The word kibosh wins Shagga over.
He has the power now.
Back at the White Wall, Jon and Sam and the other stewards are like preparing food, it looks like. And then the Will Ferrell drill sergeant guy walks in, and he's just talking shit. He mentioned Ned being a traitor. He's like, now you're just a bastard of a traitor or something. A traitor's bastard, something like that. Jon attacks him with a knife, but the other stewards like stop him like immediately, and Will Ferrell is like, you'll hang for this bastard, and leaves. He doesn't say it like that, but I wish he did. He says those words, just not in the comical way that I just said. And then luckily Mormont is there. He's seen the whole thing, and he's just like, dude, why? That was stupid. Like, we could hang you, just so you know. But he just like confines him to his quarters, and then Jon leaves. He's on like house arrest. And then, okay, so in the next scene, Jon is just in bed in his room, lies awake on his like wheat mattress. And his wolf starts like barking at the door and whimpering, just like hopping up and down, pawing at the door. Something's outside. Jon gets up and is like, what's wrong, ghost? And he grabs his sword, goes outside. So he's breaking his house arrest and follows Ghost to another room. I'm guessing it's Commander Mormont's room. I don't know. And Jon goes inside. No one seems to be there. And he hears like throaty sounds coming from with it, like zombie-like sounds. And then the dead body that looks like Uncle Fester walks in like a zombie and like attacks him. Yeah, he doesn't try to eat him though. He just tries to like strangle him. So it's not like a zombie. They look and move like zombies, but they don't like try to eat people. He's like clearly trying to just like strangle him. He's not trying to bite him or anything. Jon stabs him in the side a few times. It does nothing. And then he chops his arm off. Also does nothing. He keeps coming at him. And then he finally sticks him in the stomach with the pointy end of his sword. And it finally goes down. Mormont comes in. And he's like, why are you outside of your room? That was my hooker. No, I'm just kidding. And then Mormont comes in. The zombie thing gets back up. Jon grabs a lantern he burns his hand and throws it at the zombie. I like the little detail of him grabbing it and like it burns him immediately. He's like, ah! And then he throws it at the, yeah. Anyway, the zombie goes up in flames immediately. And it seems like it's dead now. And then they run away as the zombie goes up in flames. I totally I thought Mormon was going to be like, I told you not to leave your room and like still like punish him or something. You saved my life, but also we have to kill you now. You broke your, I don't know, some stupid thing. In the next scene, we're back in Dothraki land, kind of. The Dothraki are like ransacking a village and basically they're killing everybody, the men, women, and children. Daenerys, Jonah, and her posse are kind of like walking through after they're seeing like the aftermath of like a battle that's already happened. Like everything's on fire and destroyed and they're rounding up the surviving people. Daenerys doesn't like what she's seeing and commands everyone to stop what they're doing. And Jonah is like, you have a gentle heart. This is just how it is. We have to. And then Daenerys is like, don't call me gentle ever. And then she lays down the law. Jonah is still like, you can't save them, dude. And then Jonah Hill. Yeah, Jonah is basically just like, you can't save them, like don't even try. And she's like, I can and I will. And then she also like looks at the camera and goes, please like, comment, and subscribe. You can and you will.
This is a good time for me to declare my house. I am House Hill Tribe this episode.
Oh snap! I should have guessed it. Oh,
I liked that they looked like they were straight out of Skyrim.
Yes.
Well, props to Tyrion for rolling that nat 20 on charisma, because
For real.
we're getting out of that.
I will never, ever stop marveling at Peter Dinklage's acting. That man is incredible. He's incredible. Every scene he's in, right down to, they talk about face acting, but Peter Dinklage has like hand acting.
His face acting is great too, because he's like 30% face.
Yeah.
We'll probably cut that out. Probably.
It's a good thing I wasn't drinking my water, dude. Oh my god.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna go back to an earlier scene, but
Sure.
This is where I wrote, my God, we're gonna try that sentence one more time. It was at this point in my notes that I wrote, what happened to Septum?
Septa.
Septa. What happened to Septa? I don't know that we ever find out. Are we supposed to assume that she died?
Escape.
Maybe she was ready for it. Maybe she's like, finally.
She's like, I'm fucking.
Yeah, she saw the blood on the swords and they're Lannister guards, so I assume she was ready to.
She's
Yikes.
like, finally, I get to get away from this fucking Sansa. Oh, God. Thank you.
She's like, give me sweet release.
You've answered
Thank
my
you,
prayers.
My prayers.
Ay.
I thought she was gonna like bust out some like crazy fighting skills that she never
Oh,
showed
yeah,
anybody
she-
or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Takes off her head wrap and then
and
the
her
legendary
pants.
head of hair.
What do you think White Walkers smell like?
Nothing, apparently. But I would like
Wait,
to
they
think,
don't smell like anything.
But if they did, if I didn't know that and I was just seeing it, blue cheese.
You know what?
Blue cheese.
I have to take a moment here to note that this is the second instance of Sam asserting his superior smelling abilities.
Oh,
In the
what's-
earlier episode, he's like, man, I love smelling women. And in this episode, he's like, these these dead bodies don't have a smell. Because I know I'm sniffing Sam.
Chapter 4. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Daenerys, we're still in with Daenerys and her group. She's trying to save everybody. Daenerys goes to Cal with her group, and some guy named Mago has told on her. So Mago is talking to Drago right now. He's another big Dothraki guy. He's is he like a commander? I don't know. He's like one of his military higher ups, I'm guessing.
I'll tell you what he is. A complainer.
He's a goddamn complaint. He's basically like complaining about how Daenerys told us to stop. We can't rape women now. What up, dude? What up with that?
Total Chad energy.
Yeah.
Total Chad energy.
And then Drago basically tells Daenerys that this is just how war is. It's how it's always been. And Daenerys is like, I don't care. We're gonna change it up a little bit. And Mago, who has a doggo. No, I'm just kidding. There are no dogs present. He is like, you don't command me. You're a foreigner, bitch. No, I'm just anyway. She says, actually, I do. I'm the Khaleesi. And Drago is basically just like, oh, she just owned your ass, dude. It's because my kid's in her. It must be my kid in her. Mago spits at Drago's feet, and then he draws his, like, curved blade. He's like, I will fight. He wants to fight him. One of Drago's men moves in to face Mago, but Drago is like, step aside, I'm gonna do this myself, and he gets up. Mago pushes his curved blade lightly into Drago's shoulder area, and it basically acting the same way as a pointy end would, so it's another pointy end, the name of the episode. And it draws blood. Mago flexes his pecs, and he walks further into the blade, and it causes it to, like, cut him more. Just a little bit, though. It's not like a serious wound. And he shows no signs of pain. They fight. Drago does not use any weapons. He, like, takes his daggers out and drops them like Batman. He does a lot of, like, very theatrical moves. He's totally, like, showing off to Daenerys. I don't know. And then anyway, they fight. Drago drops his knives. I already said that. He faces the guy. The guy still has his sword, and he's fighting with no weapons. And eventually, Drago is able to, like, get the guy's arm in a lock and, like, use his own blade to slash the guy's neck. And then Drago reaches into the neck wound and pulls out the guy's tongue through his neck. And then he, like, holds it up in victory to, I guess, Daenerys. And then for a second, and then he sits back down. And it's a pretty brutal scene. He throws down the tongue onto, like, a pile of, like, heads. Daenerys is worried about Drago's wound. She runs over and she just shouts out, like, where are the healers? Do we have any healers in the house? And Drago's like, dude, I'm fine. It's just like a flesh wound. I'll be okay. One of the captured women nearby steps up and says, I'm a healer. I can help him. I don't know what she says. Anyway. One of Drago's guys basically tells her to shut her mouth. And Daenerys is like, no. Daenerys has to keep being like, no, we're doing stuff different now. Remember? Like, she's good. And then, so she talks. The captured woman talks. Her name is Miri Maz-Dur. And she was a god's wife of the temple that they're in right now, which I would have never guessed was a temple. It looks like a gazebo at the park I run at sometimes. And also, she's basically a witch, or no, that's what they call her, but she's a witch. And she knows healing smokes and ointments. And Drago's guy slaps her in the face for talking too much, and then she continues talking, and she insists that the wound needs to be, like, washed, basically. We need to wash that wound or it's gonna fester and he will probably die. Okay, now we're I think we're in Winterfell. I don't know. We're with Little Rob, and he's eating a meal with Lord Umber, a half angry, half jolly bearded man who wants to lead the vanguard. And the place is, like, packed with, like, dozens of other, like, men eating and talking. It's like a cafeteria mess hall vibe. Everyone's jolly and having fun, but Rob tells Umber that Donald Glover is leading the vanguard. Sorry, dude, you can't lead it. And Umber threatens to go back up north instead. He's like, if I don't lead, I'm going home. And Bran and Theon are there eating too. little Rob's like, all right, go back. But when you go back, after I finish killing Joffrey and the Lannisters, I'm gonna pay you a visit and hang your ass for being an oath breaker. And then at this point, other men stop talking and they're like watching what's going on now. It's like a big thing. Obviously, Lord Umber isn't pleased with Rob saying this. Rob's wolf jumps on him after his little outburst. He kind of like shouts a little bit. He bites off 2 of his fingers. And somehow this wins Lord Umber over. He like laughs, so does Rob and the rest of the men in the hall. They all laugh, but he is missing 2 fingers. All right, that was chapter 4.
If I went to your house, Dave, and I was like, I don't like the way you're hosting this podcast, Dave. I think that you need to be more aggressive. We need to have a more emphasis. And then your dog bit my fingers off. I wouldn't be like, that's what I'm talking about, dog.
It feels very old world machismo. It's like one of those things where in a competition, I feel like I've experienced this on a weird level. If somebody is saying something and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat you," and then you end up beating them. They're like, "Okay, yeah, respect. All right."
But I can follow that to an extent until it goes past permanent injury.
Yeah. My favorite part of that scene is little Brandon Stark's reaction. He's like, "What the fuck? These crazy Northerners? What?" He's just like got this half smile on, like, "Yeah, that was amazing." Was it? I don't even know.
Was it?
Where are they? So is Rob in? Are they in Winterfell right now, or?
No, they're on the road. I can't remember where they're at. Close to. I think they establish it later on in the episode, but it's close to this bridge that's by the Twin Towers-ish thing. They call it the Twin Bridge? I can't remember.
Oh.
But they're on the road.
I just noticed a lot of these places have a similar like candle setup. They all have the same like circular candles in the background. I recognize them because I modeled those out in Blender once. So
yeah, they went to the same IKEA store, and every house in the north has that setup. I have to say that Khal Drogo fighting was really cool, and noticing that he received a little scratch right where I have a stab wound made me feel like, yeah, I'm a badass. I'm a badass.
Jojo, you are a badass.
it is a good reminder of like how shitty things were in medieval days.
I do love the contrast between Lord Umber and Khal Drogo at this point, because Lord Umber, the Northmen, they're not like, healer, we need a healer over here. He's just like, oh, fuck it, I'm bleeding. Ha 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 ha, give me some more beer.
True. Also, Lord Umber looks like the dude from the movie Hook that gets thrown into the boo box. It's played by...
did you know that's Glenn? Oh, sorry.
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's Glenn. What's her name? Glenn Close is.
Yeah, I love that. I was gonna make a reference to Hook earlier with the pointy end and be like, oh, there's nothing quite like running a man in with your blade. It's a very beautiful feeling.
By the way, Hook is the first movie I remember seeing just in life in general. So it's like the first movie I saw. Or no, it might be Return of the Jedi, actually. I don't know. Anyway, Chapter 5. Later, Bran sleeps in his room, dude. Fucking hard-hitting energy. Robb comes in and wakes him up and tells him he's leaving now in the middle of the night to avoid Lannister spies. Because I guess they all sleep at night. I don't know what he's thinking. He tells Bran not to leave the castle while he's gone, and then tells him not to be scared and leaves, yada yada. A creepy kid comes in after. Well, it is kind of creepy. He does like come out of the darkness, and I don't know, he doesn't say anything. He just stares at Bran. And he's been eavesdropping the whole time. Looks a little worried. Bran is like, don't worry, they'll be back soon. So will Mom. And the kid's like, no, they won't, and leaves. He's like, oh, thanks, random kid I didn't know about. Do we know who this kid is, by the way? We've never seen
Yeah,
this kid before.
I'm really glad. I'm so glad you brought this up because I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be another Stark, like Bran's brother.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Rickon Stark.
But you wouldn't know it because he's never had any meaningful appearances up until this point. And they also talk... I mean, in just this scene alone, Robb tells Bran, you must stay here because there must always be at least one Stark in Winterfell, implying that Bran's the only Stark left. Then Robb leaves, and another Stark shows up.
Maybe he's been hiding in there the whole time, and they forgot about him. No, I don't know.
So.
Okay, and then so in the next scene, it's like the next day or something. I don't know. It could be months later. I don't know. The next day, Bran. I don't know. I called him Bran. Bran is praying to one of those weird weirwood trees with the face on it in the Godswood. And Bellatrix walks up on him, and she's like, I pray to the same gods. Isn't that cool? And they talk for a bit about gods and stuff. I don't know. And then naked Hodor and his huge floppy wiener comes out of nowhere. And Bronn is like, just go get some clothes, Hodor. And he runs away. And that's it. I mean...
Wild and free.
What was Hodor doing in the Godswood naked? Can I... Why was he there? It's not like there's a lodge with like a sauna close by or whatever. I don't know.
I never thought to ask why he's naked.
Just running around the Godswood naked, Hodor.
Swimming, I guess? I don't know.
In front of children. And Bran has to be like, go get some goddamn clothes on, Hodor. And then he runs away. And then Bran asks if there are giants beyond the wall. Is Hodor like a giant? Is that what he's implying there? Is Hodor like part giant or something?
The woman does literally say that man must be part giant, but I don't know.
All right, and
I'm not sure. Jojo.
The woman has a name. It's Bellatrix. Okay.
Right, Bellatrix.
Okay, well, whatever. It's fine. And yeah, she does say, yeah, there's like, Bran is like, are there giants beyond the wall? And then she's like, there's giants and more or something. There's worse things than giants. And it's like, what do you mean? Are there like super giants? Like, what do you mean? All right, back at the White Wall, Jon and a few others are burning the bodies of the zombies. It looks like they're outside of the barracks or something. They're not inside, like in the courtyard like they usually are. And they're just looking at it in silence. It looks like they're kind of like in a state of like disbelief. They're like, oh shit, these are like white. They look like Michael Jackson. No, I don't know. Sam speaks up and is like, they were touched by the White Walkers. I've been reading books. The White Walkers sleep for thousands of years, and when they wake up, well, let's just say those walls better be high enough. Haha. And then the camera pans up to the wall. I don't know, which I thought was kind of funny. I don't know, cheesy. It's like, what are they showing us how high the wall is after he says that? Just so you know, the wall is super high. Anyway. Next scene, Kat and Santa ride up on some sort of like military outpost camp. It's Robb's. Kat knows about his decision to march into King's Landing somehow. Robb is in a tent Robb is in a tent discussing Tywin's army activity with Umber. There's also a bunch of other men in there. Kat comes in. She stabs him with the pointy end. No, I'm just kidding. Kat requests to speak with Robb alone, and everyone gets up and leaves. Umber says something about his bunghole before he leaves. I don't know. He's a goofy guy. Kat doesn't want Robb to march into King's Landing. He shows her the letter from Sansa. She notes there is no mention of Arya. Robb has 18,000 men, and she's like, you have to fight them in the field. That's like your best shot. She reminds him what Tywin Lannister did to the Targaryen children. He butchered them in their sleep. And Kat basically reminds him that if he loses, they will all die. Basically, all the Starks will die. Tyrion, Bronn, and their new goat friends finally make it to Tywin's outpost. They kind of just stop on the outskirts for a bit. Tyrion is like, I should probably go in alone. And then Shagga is like, no, I'm coming too. And if you betray me, I'll cut off your wiener. And Tyrion finishes his sentence like, and feed it to the goats. Yes, I know. You've said it. Like, he said it like a million times, probably. And then that is chapter 5.
I like how Bran was praying, and then you hear this small little hint of like, and Theon, I guess, take care of him, I guess.
I didn't catch that.
He's like not sure about. He's an afterthought, Theon.
Poor
I do have a
Theon,
question
man.
about the religion in this show. Is it I mean, okay, I'm gonna be, this might sound like offensive.
I know what you're.
But is it real? Like in Final Fantasy
No,
X?
okay. No, this is the question that you are asking. The show also asks, and they keep it intentionally ambiguous, and that's a running theme throughout the show. Are the gods real? There's like tension because there's the old gods and the new gods, like an old religion and a new religion. There was the scene earlier, I think it was in last episode, where Sam said he prays to the new gods, but they've never answered his prayers. So that is up for you, the viewer,
Oh, okay.
to decide.
I wasn't sure, because I have read stories where the religion is like real. Like in Final Fantasy X, they pray to these things called like the Aeons and the Faith, and then those are like physical beings that live in the world too. So it's a thing that happens in stories sometimes, but so I wasn't sure. Interesting.
I don't think it's up for debate whether or not there's like magic or spiritual things or perhaps even other beings in existence. I think you're supposed to assume that's true and then ask the question, but like, is this religion legit?
Okay.
Are the gods they are praying to real?
I am excited to see like how far they, like to what extent the magic in this world. Can people shoot like fireballs and stuff like that? Like, I don't know if they'll bust that out.
Possibly.
It seems like they want it to feel like a normal medieval setting, like a realistic medieval setting. We know the White Walkers are a thing now, and they can turn other people into White Walkers. So there's obviously like magic happening there. That's
Sure.
pretty much it. That's pretty much all the magic, I think, that we've seen in the show so far.
I think that's part of the brilliance. The brilliance of George R. R. Martin's storytelling and writing, because I always felt like the question of how far does this magic go was an intentional question that not just you, the viewer, but the people living in this society also ask.
I guess the White Walkers would be the most fantastical thing so far. But other than that, what would you say is the most like fantastical part of the show so far?
There was the three-eyed raven that showed up in Bran's dreams.
True. Okay, but I mean that was like in a dream though, so I guess that could be.
Oh, that's a good point. That isn't a dream.
But that is very fantastical.
Yeah.
I don't know. But has there been any other? The weirwood tree, I guess. The bleeding eyes, I guess.
Yeah, maybe the dire wolves, but that's kind of toned down a bit. Like dire wolves, I feel are supposed to be tremendous and huge in stature, and I guess they're only growing at this point. But like John's little ghost and all the dire wolves are they seem just like huskies.
Yeah,
They do.
I haven't read the books, so I could be completely wrong about this. But my understanding is that they play a much bigger part and a much more fantastical part in the books. But probably they were too expensive, so they don't play a huge part in the TV show.
You say they do kind of look like huskies at parts, but there are specifically in this episode, there are angles of the husky where it does look a little more fantastically proportioned or whatever. Like it, I don't know. They shaped it. It's almost like they use CGI to shape it a certain way. I wonder if I'm just seeing things, or I don't know, but
I get that.
I think the only other fantastical element that the show has introduced so far is occasionally we will hear a character, a not main character, talk about things that they've witnessed off screen that sound fantastical. And I'm not just talking about the White Walkers. I don't want to bring up any specific examples, but every now and then you'll hear a character say like, oh, I've seen, I don't know, this is not a real one, but like a man split in two and keep walking down the road. That's not a real example. You'll hear stuff like that sometimes.
Go watch Bone Tomahawk.
I think that OSHA, when she's talking to Brandon and she's talking about all the things that she's seen and giants and White Walkers, she also talks about that with Maester Lewin, and it kind of gives some truth because she's been behind the wall, but then we reference Old Nan, and she's giving Brandon these stories about the great pale spiders and the giants and, you know, all these terrible things that nobody else has mentioned.
And there's also obviously like mention of like dragons and stuff from Daenerys, and
right,
literally she has dragon eggs. But we don't know if they're we don't know if they're real yet.
Wait, we completely forgot. There's the whole thing where Daenerys can't be burned.
Or at least she has exhibited some tolerance to that. Yeah, definitely.
If anything, she's a very good cook. I used to watch a cooking YouTuber that seemingly could grab like really hot things with his bare hands.
Unlike Jon Snow, who's like crying when he throws that lamp.
Oh yeah. I do really like that detail, though. It's immediate. You get the sound of the like sound effect when he grabs it too.
Can we talk about the security of the army that Tywin has? These guys, whatever they're called, the Hill Tribe men, they just walk up into this camp.
Yeah.
True. No warning or anything. What's the deal? Is just Tywin so comfortable? Who's on security here? I want to know.
They have no guards.
Happening?
Maybe it's just that specific angle. Okay, you know what it is? Okay, last night at like 3:30, I went to a 7-Eleven that was supposed to be open then, and there was a little sign, a handwritten sign, saying like I'll be back at like 4:30. Like the guy had left. I was like, what the fuck, dude? So he this guy clearly left and wasn't supposed to leave, but no one's gonna check. And that's maybe where Tywin's guards are doing. They're supposed to be watching, but no one's ever comes from that direction. Maybe they're off, I don't know, taking a nap. I had that question too. I was like, how does nobody notice? Like, so an army can approach, because it's not like a small group of people. It's like a lot of.
That's true.
It's like a lot of people.
Yeah.
I like how he's like, I don't want to introduce you to my parents yet. It's too early. And they're like, no, we have to meet them. If we want to go to prom, we must meet, or I'll cut off your wiener. All right, are we ready? But in chapter 6, they walk into the camp. So, okay, they walk into Tywin's tent. Tywin is talking to somebody. I think he's Tyrion's uncle, or I don't know. They're related.
Yes.
Tyrion introduces him to Shaga. I keep wanting to say Shaga Draga because that is a card in Magic the Gathering. Tywin lets Tyrion know that Ned is their prisoner, King Robb is dead, and Joffrey is king. There we go. And yeah, this is the first Tyrion is hearing of that. So he's just like, oh my God, on his face. He also knows about Little Robb moving south with an army. Tyrion is like, oh, by the way, I promised these goat people behind me. I promised them an army too, so they can take down the Vale or whatever. But they're interrupted by a messenger who lets Tywin know that the Northerners have crossed the neck. So Little Robb is on the move. Tywin knows about it now. This angers Tywin. He gets up. He's basically like, we got to move against him now. And then he gets up, addresses Shaga and his goat men. By the way, Tywin clearly does not feel threatened by these guys, like, at all. He approaches them and he promises them that if Shaga rides with him against his enemies, he will give him all that Tyrion promised plus more. He's kind of like pulling Tyrion's moves on them too. He's like, I can promise you riches beyond your wildest dreams and more. And then Shaga's like, okay, cool, but Tyrion has to fight with us. Like, until we get what we were promised, he is ours. Which is kind of a bad move. if he dies in battle, then Tywin will have no reason to give them what they want. They should still hold on to Tyrion, but like hide him somewhere safe. But they don't do that. Anyway, next scene, back at Little Rob's outpost. Him, Cat, Santa, Theon, and Umber are discussing battle strategies. Their scouts have notified them that Tyrion moves north. Tywin, sorry. All right, they aren't sure if they should move against Jaime or Tywin, because Jaime has an army and so does Tywin, and they're kind of fucked either way. Meanwhile, one of the Lannister scouts has been found and brought into the tent. He's been counting. One of the guys, like, he appeared to be counting. So I like to think he's just out there with his, like, finger pointing, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, that's what he's doing. Anyway, Robb asks him how high he got. The scout is like, over 20,000. Which, how the fuck do you confuse? Because later we find out it's nowhere near that number. How did he overcount by that much? Robb lets him go. And he's like, yes, tell Tywin you've seen 20,000. Like, that's going to scare him or something. I don't know. Umber gets in his face. He's like, well, how could you let him go, boy? And Robb's like, call me boy again, dude. And Umber leaves. He doesn't call him boy again. He only has 8 fingers still. All right, so now... this is a quick, like, 5-second scene, but we're back with Ned. He's sleeping in the oubliette, and a guard walks by and kicks him and then continues walking, and that's it. It looks like Ned's sleeping, and the guard kicks him awake, so maybe he's not even allowed to sleep while he's in there, which kind of sucks. Okay, and then now we're in the throne room. This is the final chapter, by the way. We're in the throne room. Some kind of, like, ceremonies going on. I don't know if it's the appointing of King Joffrey or if it's just something else, but they're making announcements. Maester Pyce is reading out some of King Joffrey's executive orders. Tywin Lannister has been appointed Hand of the King, so like the position that Ned had. It's funny to think of Tywin being the hand of Joffrey. Like, I don't know. It feels like Tywin wouldn't listen to a single word Joffrey ever says. And then they call out Ser Barristan. Cersei tells him to, like, remove his helmet and basically says, you're retired now. Sorry. You can go. And he's like, but my oath and vows were for life. And Joffrey's like, but you let my father die. You're too old to protect anyone. Old guy. And then Jaime Lannister is going to take his place, basically. Barristan doesn't take too kindly to any of this. Uncle Fester speaks up and is basically, but you'll get a nice vacation home by the sea with, like, many servants. And Barristan starts, like, tearing off his armor. I'm a knight. I will die a knight. Littlefinger, like, chimes and he's like, a naked knight, apparently. And everybody laughs except for Sansa, who's also there. Barristan unsheathes he unsheathes his sword and points the pointy end at Joffrey and then throws it down and leaves. And then I wanted to see how many times I could say pointy end in this. I don't know if you could tell. And then Mr. Bean addresses the audience, asks if anybody else has anything else to say to Joffrey. Sansa speaks up, gets on her knees, begs for Ned's mercy. Joffrey seems a bit torn, but then he's like, her words have moved me. He will grant Ned mercy as long as he admits that he's the king, like, to his face. That's it. And then Sansa is like, oh, he super will. And then that's the end of the episode. Episode 8. Yeah.
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 Da-da-da-da.
Let me just do the recap real quick. So in this episode, Ned goes to jail. He will most likely die. King Joffrey has given all the higher up positions to Lannisters. Little Robb is gonna go to war with the Lannisters. Khal Drogo has been wounded, and most importantly, Hodor has a huge penis. All right, discuss.
I thought it was really cool and interesting how they were clearly disrespecting him and his vows while at the same time displaying, like, reverence for him and his years of service. They weren't just like, all right, get out of here. We don't have any need for you. They were like, we are forcing you into retirement, and we respect the years of service that you put into. It didn't feel like they were just saying that. I mean, maybe they were. I don't know, but
Oh yeah, and you're right, because as I'm thinking about it, Sir Barristan, several of his lines are like, "Even now, I could cut through the five of you like carving a cake," which we just saw. We just saw the first night of the first sort of Bravos take on 5 of those same guards, the king's guards, and he did it with a wooden stick. And so I think that maybe speaks to the level of skill that is being illustrated through the writing, through the dialogue that Sir Barristan has. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But I really do appreciate how he's very manly in this scene. And then he throws down his sword, and he's like, keep it, boy, melt it down and add it to the others. And then when he walks off, he's got like the sassiest arm swing ever. Yeah. He's like, I don't know. Is this guy, is he? I don't know.
he did like a finger snap, like a
Oh.
and he turned around and bowed down the catwalk.
I kind of wish he did like that the cholo walk away, you know? I do have some pet peeves with some Game of Thrones stuff that have been growing on me. These probably aren't going to be popular opinions, so I just want to get your guys' take on these real quick. First of all, I don't like the throne. The Iron Throne.
I don't either.
From a lot of angles, it kind of looks like just like a 3D printed thing, and it does feel like, because everything else in the show is pretty realistic looking, it kind of just sticks out in a way. I don't know. I'm torn because sometimes it looks cool. Sometimes it just looks plasticky and out of place.
No, I agree with this. And I can't remember if Jojo, you were the one who said this, or if I just read an article about this. I can't remember, but I heard that the artists that designed the throne were put in a tricky situation where they were being given conflicting notes about the vision of the chair, and they weren't allowed to do what they really wanted to do. So I don't necessarily.
We specifically talked about this before.
Yes, it was us. We talked about it. So I'm not ragging on the artist, but I don't like the final product either.
I just want it to be a regular chair, is what I'm saying. I don't like the thousands of swords melted together. I just think it's a cool, I don't know. It looks cool, but it also, like, I don't know. I just don't like it. I can also totally understand why they didn't go with the 30-foot tall one. That's just a pain in the ass to, we'll put it on the screen right now because it's been like a few episodes since we talked about it. This is what it's supposed to look like. It's like supposed to be like 30 feet tall with stairs leading up to it. That is a nightmare to frame. You can only get a wide shot of that chair. If you have like somebody talking to the king from the bottom of those steps, like how do you, it's always going to be like an upward shot. It's just going to be like not the right kind of shot for a lot of scenes. So, okay, another pet peeve I have, again, and I don't think based on what you guys just said about Sansa, you're probably not going to like this. I know what you're going to say. I don't like her as an actress at all. Like,
I love her as an actress. And
maybe it's just like the context of this episode, but maybe it's just not even her acting ability. But I just don't like how she sounds. Everyone else is serious and to the point, and all the time, everyone's like direct and like confident with what they're saying, and then you cut to Sansa, who's like, my father, like, he didn't mean it. I swear to God, like, be merciful. I don't know. It's a little too contrasty.
No, I understand that. It really works for me because I think she's really selling her role as a naive and scared child who is being manipulated by everyone around her, and she's very, very naive. She's not savvy at all to what's going on, and she's just completely in over her head. So it works for me, but I understand why. That doesn't mean that it's fun to watch, you know, or that it's working for you.
I think, yeah, I'm torn because, I mean, she does work as a character. It makes sense, all her decisions. Like in this scene, I was expecting them to be like, whatever, just get out of here. Like, they could have just done that. It's only because, like, Joffrey, who's pretending to still like her for some, like, your words have moved me. I will do as you say. Like, I don't know. I'm not buying some of the stuff in the same way that it was hard to buy, like, for you to buy, like, the Eerie stuff, the Tyrion Eerie courtroom stuff, where it's just like, why would you listen to this? Like, I don't know. But
yes, that's a great example. I totally understand.
But
nah.
But you know, it's interesting. I don't know. I don't hate it. It's just a little pet peeve.
The thing with Joffrey, I think this is going to be an extremely unpopular opinion. I think probably I'm the only person that thinks this, and that's fine. I can be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things, but I don't 100% think. No one else is going to think this is true. I don't think that Joffrey's lying to Sansa exactly. I want to be clear. I don't think that Joffrey has overwhelming compassion for Sansa. Yeah. I see him as like a vulnerable child who is in a lot of, like, I don't know, has a lot of internal emotional struggles going on. And now suddenly he is the king. He is extremely self-conscious and he really wants people to like him, or at least to bow down to him. And I don't know, that's just a lot of responsibility. And his dad just died, or at least the guy that he thinks is his dad.
There's a lot of similarities between him and Little Rob. They're both kind of thrust into these positions of, like, power. It's almost like they're trying to, like, prove themselves by making these, like, sweeping, dramatic decisions to prove that they know, to try to show that they know what they're doing, you know?
Right.
I'm curious to see if you have any pet peeves with Game of Thrones.
I do. There's the time skipping, which we kind of touched on with, like, what does it take for the birds? How long does it take for the birds to get messages over? So that's an issue through the series.
True.
And other than that, maybe I don't know. I don't think there's anything else I can think of. It's
easy to forget that a lot of these locations are, like, hundreds of miles apart and they take months to travel to. So when you have, like, one scene in King's Landing where they're sending a note and then cut to Winterfell in the very next scene 2 seconds later, and he has the note in his hand, you're like, okay, that took, like, 2 seconds for him to get. But in reality, that probably took a week or more, maybe. I don't know. Sorry.
I mentioned this in one of our first episodes, but a common critique you'll hear of the later seasons is that, the distance that these cities have, the amount of land that they have in between each other, that's so important in the early seasons. You really feel this sense of time and distance, and that's just lost in the later seasons. But I'm watching season 1. I don't feel that much at all. It just kind of feels like one episode they're in Westeros, the next episode they're in King's Landing.
In this episode, there's the note sending stuff. Like, how long is it taking these people to get their notes? And then the White Wall. We have the White Wall stuff happening maybe at the same, like, simultaneously, but it's not, though. Oh, yeah, wait, no, it is happening simultaneously. But there is actually a problem now that I'm thinking about it. So in the last episode, they were doing their vows out at that tree. They find that severed human hand. They're not, like, far away from the wall. It's a short distance to this tree, right? Like, how long does it take them to get there, do we think? So when
they said it's at least a mile out.
Okay, yeah. So it's, for me, 6 minutes. But okay, so they're returning in this episode with the bodies and the severed hand. Who knows how long it took them to find these bodies, but I'm assuming, like, a few hours at the most. And they drag it back, 20 minutes to get back. Dragging, for me, it would be 8 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. So that's all happening in the same day. But then Commander Mormont is getting that note also on that same day. So that means the stuff happening in King's Landing and Winterfell, either that stuff happened, like, weeks ago, and I don't know. No, not that this time jump stuff doesn't mess with the story at all, but it is something I think about all the time. When I see stuff like this in movies and shows, it's hard not to think about. So,
well, I'll give you guys another example of this. There's another example of this where we didn't see Tyrion at all last episode. This is the first episode we have seen Tyrion since he left the
Right.
Erie. Is that how you say it? The Erie?
Yes.
And two things happen. The first is that he and
LeBron James.
LeBron James, yeah. He and LeBron James, we can presume a lot of time has passed, and yet when we first see them, they're speaking as if they've literally just stepped outside of the Erie, where Tyrion's like, so why did you decide to travel with me? And it's like, have you guys been traveling for like days? And then they're also traveling on foot, and Tyrion's a small guy. Like, I can't imagine that him traveling on foot is fast. And then, later, they're not on horseback, and then later we see, like, an army that, they're going to kill them, but they decide to travel with them. But again, the army's on foot, so that's even slower, because now you've got an entire, like, pack of people all traveling on foot. And then they just, like, make it to Lord Tywin. Like, how far away is he? I feel like they would have been traveling for months.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, like, it takes probably a regular person, it takes them probably like an hour and 20 minutes to walk like 4 miles. I do appreciate Tyrion's decision when he first leaves the Vale or whatever, the Erie. He's just down to immediately get out of there and travel hundreds of miles on foot. With like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, what do they do for food? Are they hunting? Apparently Tyrion does have food, but it doesn't look like he has a bag or anything, so it can't be a lot of food. Because they do talk, Bronn's like, I could just kill you and take your food. Your little crackers you have in your pockets. Like, where's the food? Is it the elven bread from Lord of the Rings that you just take one bite and it's like a full meal every time? Like, let's get our ratings out of the way, though. Let's do it again, because JoJo just came back. So, Kit, what are you rating this episode?
I'm rating this episode a 6 out of 10. Thrones made out of sword. And I'm House Skyrim. I don't remember their name.
The Hill Tribe.
Oh, the goat.
House Hill Tribe.
I call them the goat people.
Yes.
But yeah, awesome. JoJo, what are you rating this episode?
Yes. 7 dragonflies out of 10 werewood trees. I think I'm House. Oh, geez. I think I'm just gonna go with House Stark.
Sansa. I knew it was gonna be
House
something
Stark.
Sansa related, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like a 7 out of 10. And House
Tyrion.
House Lannister, dude. House Joffrey. Fuck it. I'm on their side. They're the heroes of the show. The Starks.
Yeah.
Dude,
I think
the Starks are a bunch of terrorists, and they need to be taken out.
I mean, they're losing fingers and stuff, and they're like hyping themselves up on blood and just be like, yeah, the meat's bloody tough. I changed my mind. I want to be House Barristan. Barristan Selmy.
We didn't mention this last episode, but I'm House Lannister for the previous episode, and it was entirely because Tywin made his first appearance, and I love him.
Same.
Oh
Yes.
man, I'm gonna have fun calling you guys out about Tywin for the next few episodes. I feel like he kills children in their
You will
sleep.
try.
All right, that brings us to the end of this episode. Good stuff. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. That was episode 8. Next week's gonna be episode 10 or 9. Sorry, I know how to count. Any last final words from you guys? Say anything?
Not today.
Not.
I don't know.
GG's, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.